going on, everybody? Welcome to the 45th episode of the Hot Takes podcast. This is a very special podcast. We usually release episodes on Wednesdays. We release this one on Thursday because it's October 1st, and as we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And with that being said, my very special guest tonight is my one and only mother, Denise McKnight. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Hi, everybody.
I don't have Joe with me filming right now, but behind the camera is my younger brother, Tommy, as well. And yeah, he's been helping me out for the past couple ones while Joe's been on break.
Joe's on vacay.
When he's on vacay, exactly. So what we're really going to get into this episode, for those who didn't know, my mother did have breast cancer a year ago or more than that.
Actually, December will officially be 2 years cancer-free.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So 2 years cancer-free in December. Mm-hmm. She went through the whole process. Everyone was on her side with it. And we're basically going to talk about the whole medical process, emotional process, all that kind of stuff. And really the reason why we're doing this too is basically to reach out to others who may be going through the same thing as well. Or just starting to go through the whole process. Hopefully they see a video like this and they could have a little bit more, not closure, but comfort in the whole. And, it's so scary in the beginning. So it's nice. I know it helped me when I seen somebody who was a year further along than I was. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, I am going to be okay, and she's still here, and so it's just nice to see somebody on the other side of the hard stuff. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get right into it. I have a couple of questions here, and obviously if we go off topic or whatever, no big deal at all. So we can start off with when you found out, what stage breast cancer did you have?
So I actually had stage 2. It's called IDC, intrusive ductal carcinoma, and it's more hormonal. So it was all in the breast ducts, and that's where it started. It's the most common breast cancer there is. But from there, it goes to your stages, which was stage 3, and then what hormones you're positive for. So I happened to be triple positive, and at the time just felt, everything I was being positive for, positive wasn't a positive thing. It was more of a negative thing. So when I heard I was triple positive, it was just like another little punch in the gut. But when I was speaking to my doctors, and he was like, no, it's a good thing that you're triple positive, because thank God the medications that are out today compared to years ago are incredible. So there was a medication that I was on that specifically targeted for the triple positive, and it was game changing.
Right. So stage 2 is what you had. Stage 1 is obviously not the least of your worries, but it's like the least worrisome.
Yeah, actually, I even found out there is a stage 0.
Oh, stage 0. Okay.
So there is. It's just they stage it. It goes by the size of the tumor.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers for each stage now, but you could have like a little speck, and that would be like stage 0, and you don't really have to do chemo or radiation, things like that. It's basically just a biopsy and getting it out. Stage 1, obviously, you have some type of tumor, but it's at a smaller size.
Yeah.
And stage 2, 3, 4, obviously.
Right.
So at stage 2, I had to run the gamut. So I had to do chemo first, surgery, then radiation, then reconstructive surgery. So it's just a very long process.
And at stage 0, you wouldn't even have to do any surgeries or anything like that?
No.
But stage 0, I feel like, is something that it would be very hard to find on your body, no?
It could be very hard.
You have to be probably very lucky to notice something in order to catch it that early.
It's so important for people to go for their mammograms.
Yeah.
Really, really important. And I had been going, but I was literally 6 months late. Like, instead of I was going every March or whatever, I was a couple of months late from that March, and I was already at stage 2. So it's so important, because it could just come about so fast, and it grows fast.
And it could grow fast, right?
And like I said, mine's intrusive, and which is a fast growing one. So my situation happened to present itself. I found it. I felt the lump, which I'm so grateful for now, because it presented itself to me where I'm so grateful that it showed itself to me, so that I was able to do something about it.
Yeah.
A lot of times women don't give themselves the self breast exams, or they may, and it could be hiding. It could be in a spot that you're not necessarily feeling, and if you're not going for your mammogram, it's hiding in there, and all it's doing is growing while it's hiding in there. So that's my biggest thing. Like, it's just keep checking yourselves. You're in the shower once a week, just check. If something doesn't feel normal, just go check it out. What's the worst that, you know what I mean? So you're wrong.
Right.
But you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Of course.
It's just so important.
Was this something that was always on your mind, as in checking, and before this all happened?
I did check. I wouldn't say with any regularity. It's not like I did it once a week, but I did while I'm in the shower, washing myself. Like, I always did check, because it wasn't, my grandmother had it.
Right.
Grandpa's mom had it. She had it later on in life, so she got it in her early 60s, I believe. And then my Aunt Teresa, who is my mother's sister, had it young. She must have originally gotten breast cancer, I would say, in her 30s, and she passed away in her 40s. So she was in remission, everything was doing great, and then when you get to that 10-year mark, which is supposedly the, all clear type thing, and obviously the longer you go, the better chances you're not going to get it. She had gotten it back, and it was in her bones, and she wound up passing away. But like I said, a long time ago, and medications weren't there. I don't even know exactly what type of breast cancer she had. And that's another thing through this whole thing. I just thought breast cancer was breast cancer before all this. I didn't realize there were certain types of breast cancer. I didn't know. So that was a lot of things that I had to find out too, because when I first found out and going to the doctors, they're recommending getting my like a genealogy test to find out if it's hereditary, because I was worried about you guys.
Right.
Men can get it. I mean, it's very rare, but men can get it. And obviously Gia was a big concern. So they have this testing, which is another great tool. It's scary to go take the test, but if it comes back where it's positive and you're positive for this gene, it's called the BRCA gene, you can be proactive against it. You can choose to have a mastectomy or a hysterectomy before
it even
you get
pops
cancer.
up.
Not that it's going to be a definite that you are, but if you are positive, your chances are a little greater that it could happen.
Sure.
But that test is great now because you're in control. Like a lot of people get so down and out. I know a girlfriend of mine came back positive and she was like devastated, and I'm like, of course, it's upsetting, but you got to turn that around and think about, like, thank God that this test is here right now.
Yeah.
You don't have the cancer. You're in control of it. You're taking control of it. Take them off, you know, and you don't have to worry about it. So we did all that. Thank God all that came out negative, so I didn't have to worry about that thing. But just so much in the beginning. It's very overwhelming. It's almost like you're living an out-of-body experience, because you think you think you're educated enough, but when those words are being said to you, it's just like game changer.
Right.
Like different, and it's a lot to absorb, a lot to take in. You could be talking to 3, 4, 5 different doctors, and while you're sitting in that room, everything makes sense and you're understanding, and then you could go home and you'd be like, wait a minute, why am I doing this and not that, and what they say about this? It's just it's
in the moment. It's very surreal.
Very overwhelming.
Yeah, very overwhelming, 100%. And it's something that you have to take in, like, I'm sure, like, hours at a time until you fully process it and everything like that.
So the first night that I actually felt the lump, I was in the bathroom. I felt it, and I called Dad in, and he felt it, and I'm like, "Oh, you feel that? You feel this?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, well, let's not, we'll just go get it checked out." That's
what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Was it something that you felt and it was something you put to the side at first, or it was almost immediate?
No, it was it was a Thursday night. I felt it, and it wasn't like I felt something. I'm like, "Oh, do I feel something?" It was there. It was It was there. There was nothing to ignore. It wasn't like a little something. It was there, and that's what kind of freaked me out a little bit, because, like I said, I do check myself periodically in the shower, and there was no mistaking this. So I really believe with all my heart that this wasn't there the week before, because obviously not that size. There's no way I would not have felt that.
Yeah.
So it was fast. Like, I really do believe it was a fast growing tumor, because it was there. So that was a Thursday night. I got an appointment for Monday. I actually had an appointment for 2 weeks out with a new gynecologist, new doctor that I was going to, but didn't want to wait. I went to my old one who just didn't take my insurance anymore, and that was the reason why I was switching doctors. But I said, let me just go. I'll pay out of pocket, and let me just go get it checked out. So Dad and I went on Monday, and as soon as I went in there and she was examining me, she was like, "Oh dear," she's like, "All right, we have to get this tested." And in that moment, I remember her just saying that, and I remember my lip quivering and, just crying. She's like, "No, don't worry." But I think that I knew. Yeah. I knew, even really when I first felt it, I just knew. I knew it. And, Daddy was like, "Oh, it's nothing, don't," because there's a lot of things that it could be, cysts, and I don't know. I kind of knew. And then from there, went for the mammogram. Did that came out like not good. I had to go for a sonogram. That came out not good. Then they had to do the biopsy, and like I'll never forget, Gia was actually traveling with softball at the time, and it was the first time she was really traveling like state to state. So Dad had planned on going with her to Tennessee. That was where her first stop was, and then he was going to come back home, and she was going to be traveling with the team. So I had my ultrasound like scheduled for a Wednesday, and he was supposed to leave Tuesday, something like that, and he was like, "All right, no, I'm going to cancel." And that was the one thing like I just didn't want to start doing. Like I didn't want it to start affecting you guys, because there was, yes, was I going through something, but I didn't even know anything factual to tell you guys yet. So what am I going to come to you and say, "Oh, it could be this," and then you guys are all stressed, and I don't even really have answers for anybody. Right. So I'm like, listen, go with her. It would peace of mind anyway, her traveling. I really rather you go with her, and then you'll be back. My friend Anne-Marie Kress, who she came with me just to do the biopsy. Nobody was really allowed in the room with me anyway, so it's not like Dad would have been in there with me. So she came, she took me home, it was fine, and I wasn't supposed to get the results until Tuesday of the following week. Yeah. So Dad was going to be home Monday, so there was just no reason not to go. Right. With this, I go into work on Friday morning, and I don't even walk through the door. It's like 8:20, and my phone is ringing, and it's the radiologist. And just came right out. I was at work. He told me it's definitely cancer. He told me it was triple positive, and I just remember like being in the office and just, literally my whole body shaking. Like I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And he was like, "Oh, but there's medicines," and I can't even remember the whole conversation because it was just. I couldn't comprehend anything. Like I just heard it's cancer. Yeah. And just scary. So I called Anne-Marie out because I happened to work with her.
Was she not there at the time?
She was there. She was in the office, and we have that warehouse before the office itself. Yeah, so I was out in the warehouse because I work with other people and just trying to have a little moment.
Yeah, of course. And then
I text her, and she came out, and thank God they would. Shout out to the Cresses. Thank God for them, really. And she came out, and let me back up a little bit. When I went for my mammogram, my doctor told me you should call a surgeon as well. And what she told me was, which is unfortunate, that a lot of surgeons won't even see you or give you an appointment until that positive test comes out, like until it's cancer. Yeah. And like I was so upset at that at first, and I'm like, well, why? Like, let's get a plan of action. But I guess thinking about it, they're probably really dealing with the people who have cancer and really need them at that moment. Yeah. But when you're going through it, you want to just, all you hear about is cancer. The more time it grows. Of course. So you just I want things done like now, you know? But I was recommended Dr. Johnson Miller, who I love, from Jersey Shore. She gave me an appointment, and how they did it for me was, all right, well, listen, we're going to give you an appointment for such and such date. It might have been like 2 weeks out, but when you get those results, if you need to come and whatever, they would get me in that day. So I got that phone call at about 8:20. By 9 o'clock, they had me an appointment for 1 o'clock that afternoon to go see the surgeon. So, they were, I can't say enough about them. Fantastic.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So Anne-Marie came with me to the doctor, and now, like I said, Dad is away, doesn't know anything that's going on. He happened to be in a place where his reception was terrible, so I knew I had a little time, because usually he would call me in the morning. Yeah. But I would have to wait until he was into the city. And I really didn't even want to speak to him yet, because I didn't know anything. All I knew was it was cancer. Yeah. I didn't know what I had, what chemo. I didn't know anything. So I went in and I spoke with the doctor, and she told me everything, and I just assumed like I'd be having surgery first. I assumed they get it out, and then whatever lingered around, chemo would kill that off. And they had suggested me doing chemo first, and I couldn't understand that. I'm like, I don't understand why. And they're, again, with the medicines, it's come so far, breast cancer, like with the medications they have, that the chemo and all these medications I was taking shrinks the tumor so much that by the time you go in for surgery, it's like nothing there. Like my doctor just said, it's basically I'm going in there just to clean up.
Right.
So we did that. I wound up calling Dad that afternoon. He came home that night, and we were just getting our plan of action going. But before that, I had to go. I think there was like a 2-week period where I was in some type of office literally every single day. It was MRIs, X-rays, PET scans, biopsy after biopsy, because then they wanted to test the other breast, and I had fibrotic cysts, some non-cancerous, but some other thing in that, and they just figured if we're going in, we might as well take that out anyway, even though it wasn't cancer. Mm-hmm. And then when I went for my MRI, my lymph node lit up. That's how, like MRI, when you go, hot spots will light up, and that's how they look. So I had it in a lymph node too. So I had to go for a biopsy on each breast. I had to go biopsy under my arm. It was just not a pleasant experience at all. And so poked and prodded constantly.
Yeah, and throughout all these appointments, you still haven't told us yet or anybody else of the family yet.
No, because I didn't have I didn't have the plan of action yet. I didn't know what was what yet.
Yeah.
And they won't start you on chemo until they know. Listen, I was stage 2, but if it's in my lymph nodes, then I got to worry about it traveling. That's how it travels, through your blood, stream to other things. So that's a concern now. It could change the whole course of treatment. Mm-hmm. Thank God it was in one. A second one was suspicious, but that came out not. So it was only in one, which was good. But like I said, it was like at that point, it just felt like a punch in the gut every day. Like, all right. It was stage 2. I was triple positive. Now it's in the lymph node. Now I'm like, oh my God. So now you go for a PET scan, and that's basically a scan of your entire body, head to toe. And that's really for them just to see if it's spread anywhere else. And I just remember being in that, and just, it's hard. It's terrifying. Just terrifying. And I remember I must have had, in that one, you happen to have your clothes on, and I must have had like an emblem or something on my shirt. And I go through the whole test, and I remember the lady coming out and being like, oh, do you have something on your shirt? And I'm like, no, why? She's like, something just kept showing up. And it was down like by my ovaries, which a lot of times breasts and ovary, the women parts kind of go hand to hand and together, and you could have both. Mm-hmm. So I remember like just getting that sinking feeling. I'm like, oh my gosh, is it somewhere else now? And I actually had my second opinion scheduled for later on that day. We do it over, and everything's done. And she was like, all right, what doctors did you want to go to? And I'm telling her, and she's like, all right. She goes, because I'll have it there this afternoon. Now, I was told like, oh, it might take a couple of days, And I'm like, well, why this afternoon? Did you see something? You know? And she was like, no, I just know you're going for your second opinion. So they wanted to get it there. So like I said, every place that I went to, the people were just, really amazing. There's certain people who belong doing certain jobs, like teachers and nurses and things like that, and I just had the most unbelievable team. So by the time I got to my second opinion appointment that afternoon, they had the results, and thank God everything was good with that. So now my course of action was set, 6 treatments of chemo, which was about like 5.5 months. Mm-hmm. And after the 4th treatment, I think it was after the 4th treatment, I went back for another MRI, because they want to see if it's shrinking, if the medicine's working. Yeah. And it was great. My doctor was so happy. I remember actually, even after my first dose of chemo, I did not feel the lump. I made like to the touch. I did not feel it. That I almost thought I was going crazy. I was telling Dad, I'm like, do you feel this? Because it's gone. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no. And I remember going to my oncologist, and he was like, he felt it because he knows what he's feeling for, but it had shrunk so much. Like I said, I couldn't have brushed the side of my breast without feeling it. It was there. So like I didn't feel it anymore, which is great. By the time my 4th treatment and I went for that MRI, the doctor said it was like practically non-existent. It was little specks of it left. So by the time I got to that surgery, it was great. She was like, I really just cleaned up in there, and then they check for your margins. They'll cut out a little bit further than where the tumor was, like your margins, just to make sure everything's clear. And thank God everything was like a great result. So after that, I had to go for a radiation, which was like just an insurance policy, I guess.
Sure.
And just to shrink that area and under the arm. So there was some side effects to that. I wound up having frozen shoulder, which kind of really stuck.
And what's that exactly?
Basically, exactly what it sounds like. My shoulder was frozen into a spot. Like I could not. I probably could only reach my arm up. Like this high.
So
like,
that and like, could you not even feel it either? Was it like numb?
It was while it was freezing, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess that was because radiation. Its radiation literally was 5 minutes every morning for like 6 weeks, and it just radiates that area. But what it's really doing is just shrinking your skin. So it was pulling like my breast and my skin that way, and whatever it was doing to this whole shoulder blade and whatever was all connected in there, that was the bad side effect of it. So I had to go to physical therapy for that while it was happening. Very, very painful, like really painful. Like to even look over your shoulder, it was really, really painful. Then I guess once it got to the frozen point, it was just basically stuck. Like I could not lift my arm. I couldn't put my own bra on. I couldn't wash my hair. Like my hair you could just have no range of motion at all.
Right.
Terrible. And you lose all your muscle mass. Like it's getting better now, but you would clearly see how much thinner this arm was than this arm, because I just had no strength.
This was during the radiation? This is why it was because it was happening?
Yeah.
So, and did you feel like tightness too and whatnot as your skin was like
No, I didn't
shrinking?
feel it like I didn't feel like the shrinkage like a tightening of my skin or anything like that. It was just it was a really, really sharp pain as whatever was freezing in there while it was happening. And I could not move. And then once it was frozen, it just, I couldn't move. I had to go to like a physical therapy, and they would really try to stretch my arm out. So when they were doing that hurt. And it worked. I felt a little bit better leaving physical therapy because I was loose, but I still never had that range of motion. And then I wind up, physical therapy ran out because you're only allowed so many sessions through your insurance. And at that point, I felt I was done with surgery, and I was able and allowed to start exercising a little bit. And I started doing yoga and Pilates, only because just stretching.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like that, I felt more relief from those type of stretches than I even did from the physical therapy.
Right.
And what I was told right from the beginning with that is that frozen shoulder, you could do all these things. Is there a surgery? Yes. It's not a pleasant surgery. There's no guarantee that it's going to work. And that basically frozen shoulder will relieve itself from a year to 18 months. Like it just happens. And I'm like, what? This sounds like ridiculous, And I have to tell you, a year to the date, because it would have been April, all of a sudden I was like, done. So I'm saying I'm probably like 95% there, I still feel like I've been working out now a lot. I still feel that weakness like on my right side. My arm is definitely still weaker than this, but definitely getting there. And as long as I have my range of motion, I'm good, because that was tough. Right. That was like a side effect of everything.
Well, I remember you one time, we were driving somewhere, and you said you like tripped over something.
Oh.
You banged your arm, and then it went from here to here.
Yes, yeah, I do remember that. That's true. I was like my own physical therapy. Like I hurt myself. I think I tripped in the garage, like going down the stairs or something, and I banged my shoulder, and it killed, but it actually
got to move it a little bit more.
Yeah, because even when I was in physical therapy, that's what they were really trying to do, because almost just unbreak what was frozen in there, So even though that hurt, it helped. But I'm telling you, the yoga and the Pilates, those stretches really, I would say, did the best for it.
Okay. Tommy, is that still recording? Okay, cool. All right, so I want to back up a little bit. Once you got your definite answers, before you went through the chemo and everything of exactly what it was, where it is, and all of that, when did you tell family? When did you tell, obviously, I'm sure you've told intermediate first, and then you've told external family and whatnot.
Sure.
When did you tell us after you found out?
So I found out everything on trying to remember like what day it was. I think I had all my appointments for chemo ready to go, like on a Monday, and I think I might have told you guys on a Friday. I was waiting for Gia to come home because I didn't want to have to go through it over and over again. I kind of wanted all you guys to have to be together, so I had to even hold it for a couple of days because she was like maybe due back on Friday or Thursday night, whatever it was.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I was away that week. Are you sure it was a Friday?
I'm not sure what day it actually was. I just know we were waiting for her to get home.
Yeah.
But you were, I think, away.
I was at a festival. Or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was waiting for you guys to get back. So I think let's say if that was a Friday, I don't remember the day of the week, but like the day before, Thursday would have been. I had to tell Aunt Roro and Aunt Jeannie. Which, for everybody who knows, like, they're like my sisters. They're family, and Roro's a nurse, and, Grandma who went through it, that's their mother. So I just needed, those were going to be my go-to girls,
sure. Yeah.
So I remember I was at work, and we were going to meet for lunch, and I'm like, oh, why don't you stop at the house first? And I was going to tell them, and I just remember, like, that, honestly, as bad as everything was, I think telling people was just as bad. The stress, like I remember feeling so tight and like stiff neck, and it was because you're just holding everything in. Because I remember once everybody was told, I actually felt like, oh my God, like so much lighter.
Yeah.
So they came here for lunch, and I had told them, and they were the first step. And then later on that night, Daddy had called Grandma and asked her to come and pick up Grandpa on the way. Mm-hmm. And I told them that night when I got home from work, and then you guys were the next day. But backing up, I do have to go to when I went to the surgeon the first time and met the whole staff. And my surgeon was very factual, telling me what everything was, and this is what we're gonna do, and very confident. And I felt that in her. And then leaving her, you go into another office and you meet with the nurses. And I have to say, my Jamie. Angeline is my nurse navigator, and never even heard of that, didn't know what it was. And it's basically, she's like your person. Does everything for you. Everything is set up for you. Your appointments are made, your doctors are all in line. Any question you have, no matter how stupid you may think it is, mm-hmm. Everything's that she was there for me. She gave me so much literature to study and places to call and suggest. And, we'll talk about those later, like Mary's Place and the American Cancer Society. And, there's so much out there and resources out there that people just don't even really know about, even financially. I mean, people gave me like grants. It was just the most unbelievable thing. But I would not have been able to do any of that without her. She was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Did she give you advice as far as which doctors to go to? And I'm sure that's her job, basically.
So she worked for Johnson Miller, who was my surgeon. Mm-hmm. And we had asked her, who she thought about for a second opinion. Because obviously, when you think of cancer, you think of Sloan Kettering. That's just, that's the big one out there. But with my case and, as drastic and as horrible as it was for me, it was like the worst thing for me. It wasn't a crazy, difficult, out of the box cancer case. So there was plenty of doctors and facilities that could handle my case. Like Sloan, they're really going for those things that are, maybe terminal and, really educational or experimental type things. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't want to have to go into the city every day, like, for chemo. I don't know if I was going to be sick. Do I want to be driving in a car not feeling good? Right. Traffic, this, that, the other thing. Even though we found out that there are like other branches of Sloan, not so far from here. At that point, I had already met my surgeon, and I just felt confident. I seen a couple of different doctors, and you just know. Like, I'm just like, nah, she was the one. She was the one. Some might have been a little bit more like warm and cuddly, but I felt confident in her. I felt like, this is what we're going to do. And I just felt safe in her hands. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you have to go with when you're going through that. You have to have that gotta, your life is in somebody's hands.
That confidence and comfortability with having that person.
Yeah, like you're literally putting your life in someone's hands, you know. And I remember being like, all right, before, make sure you take care of me,
Yeah, right.
But you do. Do I know anything about me? You're really just trusting someone, a human being who is capable of mistakes, is capable of anything. Really, just trusting your life with somebody, and that's how I felt about them.
Do all cancer patients have a navigator like that?
I don't know. Like, I think it's a fairly. I mean, Jamie, I've become actually really good friends with Jamie, so we even speak now outside of it. I mean, like I said, I couldn't have done it without it. Like I feel like I owe my life to her, honestly. I don't know. They invited me to be on a panel now that I speak at each year. Obviously, we couldn't do it this year because of COVID, but I had done it last year. I think you were working, but Tommy and everybody else came. And, just to speak about, like, basically what we're doing here today. And it was to promote the nurse navigators and how important their role really, really is
Absolutely.
To the patient. Because, hey, listen, I'm not the doctor's only patient, and she's a busy woman. So this one, like, who do I go to for my radiation?
Yeah.
She guided me all along, and I went to the Hope Center at Jersey Shore, and it was brand new when I went there. It was only a couple of months old, but everything, it was just so nice having everything at one place. My doctors were literally either on a floor above or like right next door to each other, and everybody knew me, and it was a team. I really felt like I had a team, and it helped. It made me feel confident. Like I wasn't so scared. Like in the beginning, it was just so scary. I didn't feel so scared anymore. And, I was able to once I knew I had my plan, I was just ready to go. I actually remember my chemo was originally supposed to start on a Friday. And we were waiting for some kind of result. It might have even been like the PET scan or maybe an insurance to get, okayed for everything. And I remember them calling me Thursday, and they're like, Denise, we're gonna do it Monday because we didn't get it. And I was like, why? Like I was like ready. Like I geared myself up. I'm ready to go. And Daddy was like, it's one day. I'm like, I know, but like I can't explain it. I'm ready.
Of course,
I'm just ready to get going. The sooner we get going, the sooner it's over with. But so once we started, it was all good.
I think that's an amazing program that everyone should definitely have. And the fact that they have panels for it and everything now.
Oh my God, it's like great. And the panel, it was great. I went to it last year, and I was on the panel, my nurse navigator, a couple of doctors, a couple of other women who have gone through it. And the audience, or who we were speaking to, were doctors and nurses, in that field. And they wanted just to get like the patient's perspective of, how could we even do better?
Yeah.
Like, what, be honest with me, like when you met me, what didn't you like that I was doing, or what was good? They want to know. And Jamie made a really good point. She said, a lot of times once the patient leaves, you're done with your chemo and everything's okay, and you leave, you're not going back there anymore. A lot of times she's like, I don't really hear from them.
Yeah.
Not in my case, but for the most, she don't hear from them. And there was another lady there who was speaking, and she made a good point. She's like, you guys should know about the frozen shoulder, because she had it as well. Like, these are the things that happen after we leave you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like an education there. Like, or the other girl that was there happened to have a mastectomy, and she talked about a lot of it. I'm a young girl. Like, now I have no breasts. Like, just the aspect of like meeting somebody. She's single, meeting somebody, and being so self-conscious, and like all like the after effect things that go on, and it was helpful to them, because then they could have other people joining that team, whether it's a therapist you want to talk to, or they had like yoga instructors, like all that type of thing, like
for the aftermath
stuff. For the after part of it, like when you're done with the surgeon and you're done with the oncologist with the chemo, the other little things now that are going to go on in your life forever. Now I'm on medicine for the next 10 years. Like, what if I have side effects for that? Like other, just a lot of guidance. She's there to guide. And I unfortunately have had like 3 other friends go through this like now. And that was my first thing. My girlfriend, Pam, who she went to Dr. Johnson Miller too. So, I recommended her to them. And then Allison Duca, She went, and I'm just like, please find out if you have a nurse navigator, because it was just like the greatest gift. It was the greatest gift. I don't, you could even ask Daddy that. Like, we would have been lost. Like, any stupid little question that I had, I called her.
And did Jamie just come to you guys, or did you guys find her?
No, she's part of my surgeons. She's part of that team. So, like, literally after I left that room with the surgeon and her telling me everything, and I'm a mess now.
Yeah.
And like I said, Anne-Marie is here, and that would be a huge thing of advice I give people too, is always make sure you have somebody with you.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And when you're being told those words, like, you have cancer, like, literally that's the three things that you hear. And after that, it's like, Charlie Brown, want, like, you just can't even believe.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine, but the way I see it is like the beginning scene of Breaking Bad when Walter finds out he has cancer.
Yeah, it's I don't even know how to, like, you, as much as you think you may get it, you never, like, listen, my grandmother went through it, and I was with her to all her doctor's appointment. I mean, I shaved my grandmother's head, like, when she was losing her hair. So I'm like, no, I'm good for, I'm okay. I've been through it. No.
Yeah.
Hell no. When it's said to you, it's just like, what? No way. Like, what? So always have somebody with you, because taking notes, because like I said, you may be present in that moment, and then you'll come home and you may ask me, oh, well, what's the doctor going to do with this? And I'd be like, I don't know. I don't remember. You don't remember anything. So that's a big piece of advice too. Just always have somebody there for you, because it's a lot to take in.
100%.
It's a lot to take in.
So you start chemo and everything like that. What would you say the hardest part of the whole medical process is? Was it? So I guess the frozen shoulder thing would be considered the aftermath, right?
Yeah.
So during the whole process, what would you say the hardest part was? As far as like feeling uncomfortable, or
So, thank God, and I'm I'm blessed. I'm lucky. Whatever. I really had not much side effects from chemo at all. I mean, thank you God. I did not get sick at all. Tired. I definitely got tired. So my chemos was scheduled on Tuesday. The day of chemo, you're knocked out only because you're getting so much medicine, and they give you Benadryl, like, intravenously. So, like, as soon as they give that to you, it's like, you're out of it, So, like, Wednesday and Thursday, I'd be okay. I'd be able to go to work. By Friday, uncontrollable tiredness. I mean, cannot open your eye, like, crazy tiredness.
Like, sleeping all day?
Yeah, like I would get up. I remember the first chemo I had, it was a Tuesday. I went to work Wednesday. I was okay. Thursday I went to work, and I just felt weird at work. I felt like I was on medication. Like loopy, or like, just like I was on medication. And I'm like, I don't know, like, not knowing what to expect. I don't know, is this the beginning of me getting sick? I don't know. And I just said to Dad, I said, I'm going to come home. And he's like, oh, I'll come get you. I'm like, no, I'm okay to drive and everything. I'm going to come home, and I'm feeling tired. Went to sleep. That was Thursday. Friday was just, like I said, I couldn't go into work Friday. Not because sick, I just slept. I mean, I slept. I woke up. I ate. I slept. It was just crazy. By Saturday, you started getting better. Still tired Saturday, but better than Friday. Sunday, better. By Monday, all good to go, was back at work. So that was like, that was hard, the tiredness. And I had maybe for 2 weeks, I had very bad heartburn. But they gave, like I said, there's no reason, if anybody has that, to suffer with that. You call your doctor. They gave me a medication. Fine, good to go. And then obviously the physical part, losing your hair.
Yeah. What part of the process? So how far in the process?
I would say that was my third treatment.
You started noticing it?
I started noticing it. So before I started chemo, my hair was very long. And I had said, all right, I'm going to cut my hair short before chemo starts, because I thought it would just be less traumatic for me. Instead of losing, like, my hair was down to here, clumps like that, my hair would be shorter and it wouldn't be as traumatizing.
Right.
So I did that. And then, the first treatment, because of course, you Google everything and you read everything, which I don't recommend anybody doing, because
It'll just get in your head.
And you know what it is, really just, and everybody is different. Mm-hmm. Everybody is different. There's so many different variables to it. And if you're not a doctor, you really don't know if you're even reading the right information. Right. So really just talk to your doctor. They're not going to lie to you. Talk to your nurse navigator. You know what I mean? They're going to be truthful with you. And I remember her talking to me. It's funny, after I seen the surgeon and I met Jamie for the first time, I was a mess. And like I said, Amory was with me. And she was great. And she came right up to me and she's like, I want you to look right in my eyes right now. And I'm like, all right. She goes, I am telling you right now that you are going to be fine. She's like, and I would never look someone in the eye and tell them that if they weren't going to be. I can't do that. I'm a nurse, I'm a nurse. And that was like the first time, and that was the first moment I felt like, okay, like I thought I was going to die. I thought I was dying. I did. Like, you just hear that word, I thought I was dying. And she was like, you're going to be okay. And she said, this next year is going to suck. Mm-hmm. It's going to, but after that, you're going to be fine. And I was like, okay. And I believed her. I believed her. And that's what happened. So yes, was it a crappy? It was even more than a year. I would say really basically a year and a half, because by the time chemo's done, then you have to have a little break. Then you have your surgery. You got to recover from that. Then you have to have your radiation. Surgery was easy. You just sore for a couple of days. That was okay. Radiation is hard in the sense because it's every day for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Not weekends, but 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Every day. And that makes you very tired too. Like, it was, it's tiring. I had to be there at 8:30 every morning, and thank God I was able to work, but I was still working every day. So by the time I got home from work, it was just like game over, like right. Eat, ready for bed, But yeah, so it was a lot. It was a lot of running back and forth, a lot of doctor's appointments.
Was the radiation, did that slow down as far as days a week you had to go? It was 5 days a week for 6 weeks. And then after that, it was done?
Done.
Okay. I was assuming it would go to like, maybe after that, those 6 weeks, it would be 2 times a week, and then it'll just go lower and lower from there.
What they did was like that last week, I think it's like the last week or maybe the last 2 or 3 days, they give you a boost. So like an extra strong dose of it. Mm-hmm. But yes, 6 weeks. I think that's the basic when they do radiation. But like I said, great guys there. We had Benji there. He was always in his Yankee scrubs. Mm-hmm. I mean, just really sweet people taking care of, everybody, every age. I mean, it's very humbling too when you go there. You hear that, you're assuming it's just going to be an elderly person or an older person who has it. Not that I'm young, but I'm like middle-aged. I'm younger to have it. But then I went there and, I remember being in surgery and pre-op, and I seen kids there, and I was like, oh, like, get me out of here. I can't be saying this, but it's like, you think you have things bad, and then somebody's always going through something more, so it doesn't discriminate. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, it's everybody.
The radiation was 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. The chemo process, how long in total?
Chemo was just about 6 months, like
just about
5.5
months.
It's 6 treatments, and I had to go every 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it was like 5.5 months.
Gotcha.
But then figure 6, because then after that you have to rest a little bit before my surgery.
Okay. All right, so I just want to back up a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Going back to the whole hair thing. Mm-hmm. You started noticing after your third treatment.
Yeah, so after my third treatment, just getting a little bit thinner.
Getting thinner, okay.
Yeah, not bad, but just a little thinner. But I still had a full head of hair, so I was actually kind of happy because I was like first treatment down. I remember going through the first treatment. I'm like, all right, still got my hair, not sick. All right, worst case scenario, I can only be sick for 5 more treatments. Like 5 more times. Mm-hmm. Second treatment came. Not sick at all. Hair's still good. I'm like, whew, okay. So even if I get sick 4 times now, it's not 6. You know what I mean? Like, you have to to be positive. Like, hey, listen.
Silver lining.
2 in. I could have been sick this whole time.
Yeah.
The third treatment, still had a head of hair, but I would say like third, going towards my fourth now, like within that 3 weeks, really thinning out, like to the point where like going in the shower. And I remember always being so afraid to go in the shower because I had always heard like stories that like you wash your hair and literally clumps come out. Yeah. So I never got to the point where it was like clumps like that, but really stringy. Like even just during the day, it would be all over my shoulder. Like I wouldn't put a brush to my hair anymore because anything, if I just went like that, hair would come out. And it's funny. I remember one night or one day, whatever, coming down the stairs, and it bothered me. I didn't think it was going to bother me as much as it did, but I have to say that really affected me. And maybe because I didn't get sick. I think in the beginning I was so focused on, I'm like, all right, I'm going for chemo. I'm skinny to begin with. I felt like I was going to lose all this weight. I was going to look like death, you know? I was going to lose all this weight. I was going to lose all my hair. I was going to be sick. I was going to be throwing up. And I just said, all right, listen, every time I throw up, it's the cancer leaving. Like, I had to just like psych myself up, you know? And hey, listen, I didn't get sick. I wasn't losing my hair right away. So I was like, okay, this thing isn't so bad. And then when the hair started, I think because I wasn't getting sick and I didn't feel, you know, I was never sick even before, like, so I didn't feel like I had cancer. So I think when that started happening, it was like the
first big thing.
The first thing to say, no, you're not okay.
Right,
like, sucker, you know what I mean? Like, you do have it. Like, because I could almost forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't feeling anything.
Which is amazing.
Which is great, because going through it, it's great. Like, you know, you could trick, you know, you got to trick your mind sometimes. You got to fake it till you make it, you know? And that was just a reality punch, like when it really happened. And I remember coming down the stairs and Jesse happened to be there. And I was just having a moment, you know, like, and I tried never to really do that in front of you guys, but I was having a moment and he was there and I'm like, oh, it's just hard. And he started crying. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's all right. But, and then I just remember calling Michelle Smalley, who was a friend of ours. And she had offered when they first found out, you know, if and when you're ready, I'll come do your hair. And we went. Before that, even before I started chemo, I like through Jamie, I got hooked up with ladies like to, you know, with wigs, and Jillian was helping me like go to a wig place. I wanted to have everything like ready to go. And you want to do that too. That's another hint. You want to do that while you still have your hair, your regular hair, because you go and they will really try to match it up like to what you look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I did that. I went into the city. I got a great wig. So I was ready to go. And then I remember calling Michelle and I'm like, listen, it's starting to really come out and I don't want to go in the shower and pull out. I can't take it anymore.
Right.
And she came and I just remember her, Gia and myself were in the bathroom and she just shaved it all off and that was it. It's funny, I was at work that morning, came home, she met me at lunchtime, just shaved my head and I went back into work with my wig on, which was also very hard.
I'm sure.
Very hard to walk in there. Very, very hard to walk in there. And then very hard to, believe it or not, at the end, like when my hair started growing in a little bit, very hard to take the wig off and walk in and just see people for the first time, because basically having like a crew cut.
Right.
Because after a while, now when your hair starts growing in, it's hot, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
Itchy too, I'm sure.
Itchy after a while, they get mangly. You know, like you lose your eyebrows, you lose your eyelashes. So it was like I guess I was vain. Like I would not, every day I had my wig on. Like I would never go outside.
Right.
And that's just me. A lot of people are very comfortable in a bandana, like can't stand the wig thing. And I get it because it is annoying. It just wasn't me. Like I wanted to be done. I just wanted to be dressed every day, makeup on every day, false eyelashes on every day.
Sure.
And, you know, but it was like a whole routine in the morning. You know, it was hard. I had to learn how to do it, which was another great thing through the American Cancer Society. They have a program called Look Good, Feel Good. And it's all these makeup companies and moisturizing companies that put together these kits for women of all makeup, top of the line makeup. I got like a makeup bag with maybe over $200 worth of makeup. And you go for a class and they teach you how to contour your skin and how to do your eyebrows because you're losing it and how to put eyelashes on. I mean, it was amazing, like all free. Like it was just amazing. And I wouldn't have known any of that without my nurse navigator either.
Wow.
All free. Unbelievable things.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? It was great too, because you don't feel... You feel like your womanhood, you don't feel like a woman when you're going through like that, you know, like, and, women pride themselves on looking good and, having your makeup on and your hair done. So like to go there and be given all that stuff and taught how to do things while you're going through chemo, because you have to put makeup on differently while you're doing that. It was like great. I would have never known it. It was a great resource.
After the chemo and radiation, when did you start noticing your hair growing back?
Believe it or not, it started growing back even during chemo.
During the chemo?
Yeah, I mean peach fuzz, but it was, I was never like not completely bald, so it did start growing back a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Peach fuzzy, very weird. when you do shave your head, you don't realize how sensitive your scalp is.
Sure.
Like even taking a shower, the water hitting it like hurt. It was like pins and needles, really weird. And then your hair growing back. While I was losing my hair, I knew it because you were getting like that itchy and tingly feeling. But then also growing back, you would get that same feeling. Like I guess like your hair fibers are coming alive again.
Right.
Or, I don't know how. It was like a very weird feeling. Very weird feeling. But yeah, so it started growing back even during chemo, and then this is a year, a little over a year, because we had our party last July,
right?
And that was probably the first time everybody's seen me without a wig on,
right?
And I mean I had a short crew cut there, but that was like the first time without the wig.
But you still looked amazing, though.
Well, thank you. I mean, but like that
of
that
course.
night was. Like as much as I was excited because I just wanted to celebrate, everything was over, and thank God, clear, good, healthy outcome. But I just knowing all the people that were coming, it took me a lot because I knew people were seeing me for the first time. Very self-conscious,
right?
Very.
But you still got positive feedback and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, what are people going to say? Hey,
of course not. Like crap. I mean, I'm sure as hell they, it was all honest because it. Don't get me wrong, you did look great.
Thanks.
Like, yeah,
no, I appreciate it. But I felt good. So I felt good, which was great. In the scheme of things, who cared? I didn't care at that point. As long as I was alive, I really just didn't care anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll deal with it. Hair will grow back. So you have to keep telling yourself, hair will grow back, and who cares? You look back at it. Somebody said to me once during the whole thing, and I thought it was a great saying, like when they found out I had it, and my friend Deanna Savino reached out to us, and she just said, Denise, this is only a chapter in your book. And I'm like, wow, that's like a really good way of putting it, because I just can't let this define my entire life.
Right.
This is just a part of it. Like I have so many things, my husband, my kids, my you know what I mean? Like I can't let this little glitch ruin it. I have so many other things to be, there's a lot of other really good chapters.
As far as all the support and love that you got throughout all of this, how did that make you feel? Was it overwhelming at all for you? And most importantly, did it help a lot?
Oh my God. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to do it. And you guys know, like, this whole town, what they did for us. I mean, the friends that we had, and they started this food train. I mean, we had food delivered here 3 times a week. Like,
that's right.
I didn't cook. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. It would have all been on Dad, or we would have been broke because we would have had to go out every night. But, I mean, we did not cook a single meal for over 6 months. And at first, my friend Lisa Madonia, God bless her, she like spearheaded that whole thing. And at first, I was really uncomfortable. Like, she was like, no, we're going to do this. When do you start chemo? And I'm like, Lisa, please, I don't need anything. I appreciate it, but we don't need that, whatever. And she's like, no, if it was me, wouldn't you do it? And I'm like, yeah. So she's like, all right, so we're going to start it. And she was starting to give me details. And I'm like, please, I just don't even want to know. I'm so uncomfortable. I don't even want to know about it, And once it started, oh my God, I was so thankful for it. Because like I said, I was still going to work. But by the time I got home from work, I was tired. I mean, I was tired. Like to even think about like, all right, I got to get the kids fed or whatever, I got to make sure I'm eating. I was really like diligent and really making sure that I was eating and trying to put on weight during chemo, because like I said, I always been very thin, too thin. So I was so afraid that I was going to lose even more weight. And, during chemo, you got to keep your strength up. Otherwise you could skip a treatment. And that's the last, I'm not looking to prolong it for 7 months or 8 months. I wanted my 6 treatments in. I didn't want to miss anything. And thank God I was able to do that as well. But, yeah, the food and the support was just speechless. I don't even know how else to. You couldn't thank people enough. You couldn't.
Right.
Unbelievable.
As far as like trying to gain weight and whatnot, you did. No?
I did. I started out before pre-cancer. I was 104 pounds. So now this started, and me and Daddy were talking, and he was like, you gotta make sure you're keeping your strength up. You got to eat like calories. Another thing, when I was at the Hope Tower, they sent me to a nutritionist. I had a whole nutritionist team on me, giving me things to eat, what's healthy fats, healthy calories. Really even changing my way of eating a little bit. Like I was trying to at least twice a week have like an organic meal, like just to really, listen, there's so many things that people say can cause cancer or contributing factors and this and that. So try to eat like a little bit healthier. But like the avocados and protein shakes I was having every day, I mean, I was stuffing myself so much that I actually felt nauseous from that as opposed to cancer or chemo. But then my system got used to it, and I did, and I went up to 115 during chemo. So every time I was going for chemo, they weigh you in and everything because they're expecting to see the opposite, and I kept going up. So like, I've never been, the only time I've been that weight is pregnant. Right. So it was great, and I've been able to keep it on now since because I feel good. I like the way I look better. I feel better with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was good. I had like another thing with those nutritionists, really great people.
After all this ended, what did you change as far as eating habits and working out and whatnot? Because you started working out a lot more after.
I did. I started working out a lot. Like I said, especially because with the shoulder, I was trying to do Pilates and everything.
Right.
But I had, I used to go to the gym all the time when I was doing my old job, and then when I started working, it was harder because I was in an office now from 9 to 5 and just didn't feel like going to the gym after work.
Yeah.
But I was doing I couldn't really do the weights and stuff anyway because of my shoulder and because of the surgeries I had, so I had to heal a bit. But I was able to do Pilates and yoga and do the stretching, so I started with that at home. And then once all this COVID hit, I really got myself into like a zone where I'm doing like all these YouTube videos
online
and
workouts
things like
and
that.
Everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like in a nice little rhythm now. So I'm liking it.
Nice. I remember doing that one yoga class with you, and as much as it's just yoga, like it was still.
It's hard.
It's hard, and yeah.
You got to give it a couple times because it's it could be very boring. Mm-hmm. If you're not gonna really concentrate on it, you could be like saying to yourself, "Oh my God, like is this over yet?" But if you really like do it a couple times and just like really let yourself go, it could be enjoyable. It feels great, and you will build up muscle doing that because it's all your own body weight. I mean, it looks so easy, but it's not easy.
Because of COVID and everything like that, were you worried at all with a weaker immune system and whatnot?
Yeah, I actually I was done when COVID hit. I was already done with everything. Thank God, like I was done with chemo. That would have been more concern because your immune system's so weak while you're going through it.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm still it was still more of a high risk. I wouldn't have wanted to get it only because I do have pre-existing things, and chemo stays in your system for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So, I would have been more high risk, I suppose.
Sure.
But in the very beginning when it was, when COVID was at its height, and I mean, we were really just all in the house, and then I remember getting called back to work. But there was only 3 of us in the office, but like just really even calling my doctor's office and really going by them. I didn't just take for granted and just do I spoke with them and told them how my work situation is and if I was around people and with public, which I'm really not at all,
right? And
they were fine with it. But I mean, now I'm out and about, but I go to the stores, I wear my mask, I wash my hands, and I'm living life now. I've been through enough. I'm gonna live life. I'm just gonna be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the walks that we've been to throughout and after your whole medical process. We went to one at Great Adventure. I forgot what that was.
That's Susan G Komen walk.
Yes, that was the Susan J Komen.
We did that twice.
Yeah, that's right. We did that twice. I'm even wearing one of the shirts, and you are as well.
Yeah, I think this is actually this is one of their shirts because they sell them in Walmart too, like this time of year, and everything goes towards that.
Yes.
That foundation.
This is the one that Stephanie Pianoforte made for the whole family,
Nicole,
right?
Yeah.
Nicole did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. These are great too,
great,
and we all wore them during the walk.
Yeah.
Now that was a fundraiser for the National Cancer Society.
No, it goes to it's its own fundraiser. It's Susan G Komen, and they are very big with metastatic breast cancer, and what I've learned is more. That's breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body.
Okay.
So it's not curable, but you can live with it. Women live with it for years. There's medications you could take, and so that's like their big goal. But you could. Grandma Jean was a very big one for that, so that's why we kind of picked that walk to do it. And it's for all different types. It was just a fun. There's vendors there. They really make a whole day or event out of it, and hey, listen, it's just time to give back.
Yeah.
It's just time to get back. And we did the first year. We raised a lot of money. We were like
one
of the biggest
raise a lot.
fundraising teams.
Yes.
And it was fun. Like, it was a great day to even just get the whole family together.
Yeah.
Like, extended family came, friends came, and the guys got to hang out at Great Adventure afterwards.
Yeah.
So it was just a great walk, and we did that 2 years in a row. So it was really good.
It's great that Great Adventure lets that happen as well.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And the other walk we did was in Asbury?
Yes, it was for Ocean Grove, for Mary's Place.
Okay.
Which I wanted to talk about too, because this is another thing that my nurse navigator, when I first met her that day, gave me a whole booklet on it, and she was like, you should really try this place. And I'm like, what is it? And it's just a place for women with cancer, any type of cancer. It's just like a retreat. You just go to this beautiful house right on the beach. You have your own private room. You have your meals cooked for you, all organic, all no meat, no dairy, no nothing, like healthy foods.
Mm-hmm.
You could do yoga. You could do Reiki. You could do massages. You could do journaling, drawing. If you're spiritual, you could go to like a mass, or you could, people to speak with there. And just like unbelievable services. So she was like, you should really go. And you could stay up to 2 days. You could stay 2 nights.
Like a little retreat almost.
Yeah. And at first I was like, do I really want to go? Like, I'm already depressed with everything going on. I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to be with a bunch of women who are depressed as well. Like, is it going to be more depressing? You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, you know what? It's 20 minutes, a half hour from here. I'm going to give it a try. If I'm really not happy there, I'm just going to come home.
Yeah.
And I went there, and it was the most unbelievable thing. Beautiful. I mean, what these women have put together, and everything, all the services are free. All the massage therapists and the Reiki therapists and the Pilates instructors, and there's a chef there. These are women, these are people who are just volunteering their time and doing this. They may get paid a little bit, just their expenses, like you could leave a tip, but everything is free, like whatever you want. And it was so nice to go there and just really be able to really just let go and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Here I felt like I had to be strong. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I had to be strong, and there was just to be vulnerable, and it was unbelievable. So I went there that weekend. It was great. And then they let you can go as many times as you want for a day visit. And I had done that a couple of times to go for a massage, because now we're talking about, I'm just remembering one of the side effects.
Mm-hmm.
After each session of chemo, you get a shot. And that is to build up your white blood cell count, because after chemo, it's killing the cancer, but it's also killing a lot of other good stuff. It makes your immune system really weak.
Right.
And if your blood count isn't at a certain level, you won't be able to get another treatment of chemo. So they give you this shot that builds this up. I was lucky enough to get this, I believe it's called Neulasta, and it looked like it's a patch that goes on my arm, and it's actually a needle in there. And 24 hours after chemo, it automatically lets it into my system. Like, really wild technology. So the only thing that was bad is it made you really, really sore. I mean, like flu sore. Like if you would have went like this to me. Really achy. So for I think the first 2 months, each time I got that, it was, oh my God. Somebody warned me about it, and I'm like, oh, how bad could it be? It was bad. And I remember Daddy just saying, go to Mary's Place, because they have an oncology masseuse there, which is really important for women going through this, especially if you had it in your lymph nodes, because that affects your whole circulation in your body. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to get, where the blood is being trapped in your arm, and you can get all swollen. All types of different complications can happen. So you really got to massage and go in certain directions and everything. So I remember going once to Massage Envy, and I was so afraid. Like, an oncology massage didn't feel different to me than a regular massage, which I've gone to a lot. And I was like, how do I really know that they're doing this the right way,
Right.
So when I went, and you've seen the difference, it's just a much more gentle massage, but you're just going with people who are dealing with women with cancer all day long, and really just knowing the right things to do and not to do. So I went there 3 Saturdays for a massage, everything free. It was just an unbelievable place. I mean, I recommend it to anybody to go. Like I said, you're not comfortable, you could leave, but I promise you'll be comfortable. You're right on the beach. It's amazing.
And what's the name of the place again?
Mary's Place.
Mary's Place.
So they do a walk every year also. And, if anybody's looking for like a really good place to donate, I know businesses look at the end of the year for tax write-offs and stuff. This is the place. They do unbelievable things. Unbelievable things.
Okay.
And now everything, don't forget now this year is being virtual.
That's right. So there's still a way to fundraise.
Yeah.
and
So
whatnot.
like maybe you could set up those links later. I think I emailed them to you because the walks are coming. And Mary's Place walk I think was in May, but you could donate there anytime you want.
Yeah.
I mean, Mary's Place too. I feel bad because they have this huge house that they built, which I'm sure their mortgage is crazy, but everything that they do is on donation.
Right.
Everything. So I am sure with this whole thing, it hasn't been easy because how are people donating when you don't even know if you...
That's right.
You know what I mean? People have to hold on to things. You don't know what's going to happen. So I'm sure they are hurting. So if anybody could do it, it would be a great one to do it too.
And we will put the links for both of those walk fundraisers
and next year,
in the
hopefully
description below.
Everything's in person, you guys can join us because it's just a nice day. We went out afterwards to the beer garden.
That's right.
It was just a great day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great
Beautiful day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
Of course, I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure if anyone watches it that are about to go through it or, might go, hopefully not, but might go through it one day, they could always look back at this and listen to your story on it.
I say the same thing too. Like I just, if I could help anybody, I anything. Like if somebody needed a ride somewhere to a doctor, I'm just, I have a different perspective on it. So like I feel like maybe that's the reason why I got it was because I'm to help other people. Like I was telling Daddy, like once this is all over and I was done with everything, going through chemo, you seem like there were people sitting there like that didn't have any family or anything with them. And I was like, heartbroken. Like I had to stop people from coming, you know what I mean? Like, thank God. But I was just so upsetting. Or like they were taking a cab there and I'm like, what? You know?
Right.
So like all those stupid little things that you could do, like if you could drive somebody it's a great feeling. Believe me, it's it's very satisfying to know that you're helping somebody and you just feel good.
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on once again. I want to thank my younger brother Tommy for filming for me. If you like this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and also follow us on Instagram at Podcast with Frank, where we will be putting clips of all the podcasts on there as well. And I want to thank you once again for watching. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so those links in the description. Definitely check them out during this month, but this time better than ever.
Ladies, go get your mammograms.
Yes, and make sure you always get yourself checked out.
Absolutely, be diligent.
Yes. And we will see you next time for our 46th episode. But until then, peace out.
In no official order, I'm going to start off with Jerry Rice because he has pretty much every single receiving record. He has the most receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, receptions, and he has I think 3 Super Bowls and MVP. But he played until he was 40 years old
on the Seahawks,
or I think maybe a little past. He played for 20 seasons.
He played a long time.
When he was, because the Raiders are my second favorite team. When he was 40 years old,
black hole baby.
He was 40 years old. He caught over I think 1,200 yards, and he led them to that Super Bowl. And I think at 40 years old, you could do that as a receiver.
Yeah.
I'll do one that is exclusive from Mark Hottaspotty. I told him I was coming on the podcast, saying the greatest NFL players of all time.
No free ads.
The first guy he said was Jim Brown. So this guy is someone who I think you'll probably see black and white highlights of him